Alright, so in this, I guess, third part of our What to Build Next series, we'll talk about today's hobbies. Now these fellers were only on the market briefly. Don't ask me from when to when. All I know is that they've been out of production for a while. 8 or 9 or 10 years out of production. Only really available for maybe a handful of years. They made 5 models, including this one. They were the F14A, the F4E Phantom, the the F5, which was a Northrop. Well, it later became the F20 Tiger Shark, but the F5, what do they call that thing? Tiger. And let's see. Oh, and the F16. This one and the F18. That's it. So F14, F18, F16, F5, and F4. Those are the planes that they made. And I've built everything but the F5. However, most of that was a long time ago and before the channel, and I wasn't documenting them, wasn't even taking pictures. If I can find a build thread on any of those, I'll put it in the description, or I'll put a link to that either in the description or in the comments section below this video. Anyway, this is the F16A Fighting Falcon. And if you don't know, the F16 and the F18 were developed simultaneously or concurrently. I want to say the F18 was first being worked on by Northrop. I think it was Northrop. And then General Dynamics was making the F16. Both were being built as to meet a requirement for the U.S. Air Force. What happened, though, because the F-18 was a twin-engine proposal, the Air Force kind of wasn't really immediately interested in that. They loved this right from the beginning. But the Navy saw the F-18, and they decided that they'd like to see if a Navy variant, a true Navy capable, carrier-capable version of that airplane could be built. So it had to be beefed up. It had to have, much improved landing gear, much improved structural integrity to be able to withstand carrier takeoffs and landings. Catapults are kind of a violent act against an airplane, and so are the traps. Coming aboard and grabbing a wire and being jerked to a stop can rip an airplane to pieces. So Northrop decided to pursue the Navy contract, and well, General Dynamics absolutely picked up on the F-16. But they were basically hangar mates. They were born at the same time. And so the F-16, this is the A version, so it's built to those specs, but the overall shape and configuration of the F-16 hasn't changed that much. Most of it's been internal structure, the composite, the addition and use of more composite materials, and larger and larger engines, but not to the point where they've changed the shape of the aircraft all that much. Now they've also, created a 2-seater, and they put conformal fuel tanks to them and increased their range, and obviously the avionics suites have improved over time. So, the airplanes, but they're not dissimilar to look at. So as I build this, I'll be thinking more about a current iteration of the F-16 and making whatever little modifications might need to be made to bring this up to modern day. A Block 30 F-16, I don't know, we'll see. This is just about the kit. This video is about what you get in the box. So these weren't intended to be powered flight. These were gliders. really lawn darts is what they were. They are configured, and in the plans it describes using basically a slingshot, like a wrist rocket, to pull and release these into the sky and just let them go. And so if you build it to the plan, very basic, it'd be fine for that. You're not going to put in that much time. You're going to have pretty simple design. You're just going to cover it with the tissue like you would do most flying models. And it would work for that. It wouldn't last long, but you'd get a couple launches out of it probably before it had to be, before it re-kitted itself in a field, or you had to do some major repair, or just tossed it and figured that was, good enough is good enough. But the thing about these is they actually build into a very good profile. The shape and what you are left with, if you build it to the spec and infill it and sand it and polish it, you get an outstanding blank canvas to then, define it, detail it, modify it, and so forth, to make a really, decent representation. And now with all the people out there doing 3D printing and so forth, it's not too hard to get a much improved turkey feathers, maybe an improved intake for it. I can find resin or 3D printed J79 engines and build up a really good version of this aircraft's jet engine, mounted on a stand next to the finished model, and enhance the project in a few different ways. But here's what comes in the box. So this piece is cut along these lines, and this goes under the fuselage. This is the top half of that massive air intake, and then this is the bottom half of the air intake. Obviously with this cut away, you got that big chin scoop that goes, basically that describes the F-16. That's the key physical feature of the airplane. The decals are minimal, right? Because as far as they're concerned, you're just building that. So I can go to Cali Graphics and get markings for any F-16. And the other beauty about the F-16 is there are thousands of options for finishes. The first time I built this, I did it as an Alaskan aggressor squadron. Those are the guys that are painted up like Russian fighter jets, and then U.S. teams would go and they'd do mock dogfights and carry out massive practice operations with them. So the aggressors, the Alaskan Aggressor Squadron, those planes are done up in a sort of a black and Arctic white and gray camouflage scheme, which looks really good on the F-16. So I was thinking I'd probably do that again. The plain gray, finish is okay, especially if you're adding a ton of detail and panel lines and all of that. It can still look good, and I might yet do that. I don't, haven't fully decided yet. But I really like the look of the aggressors. So this is your plan sheet. Inside of that is the tissue that you would wrap the airplane with if you were going to build it that way. I can unroll this plan sheet just to give you a sense of it. So on these models, instead of dropping the stringers into little notches on the bulkheads, you actually just lay them on top, like you would do a ship model. If you were laying up a sailing ship, that's how they do it, the plank on frame. And so and with these, they do it that way. You lay the stringers across the tops of all the formers, and then what I would then do is come back and lay my infill between those stringers. So it doesn't really change much about how I build them or how you would build them. It's just, you're just laying the stringers on top of them. So here's a sense of how big the kit is. It's 1/24 scale, which is kind of the theme right now for this series of what to build next. So far I think all of the airplanes we've looked at are 1/24. But this is the F-16, 1/24 scale. And This is how you lay up the core of the fuselage there. Up above at the top of the sheet, you can see the different steps as to how that is laid up. And then on the flip side, you get some reference drawings. This is how the cockpit should be laid out. So when I hollow out that area and build in the cockpit as I do on these builds, the projects the way I do them, that's a decent reference for how the panels should be laid out. Right? So here's the catapult system. So they actually have it, it's not a wrist rocket. You're driving posts into the ground and using this surgical rubber, probably, along with a length of string, wrapped around this hook that you put in the, just under the cockpit area of the fuselage, and just let it rip. So I bet a lot of these were just lost on day one. Whether they just sailed away or they sailed into a tree or someone else's house or crashed into a barn or whatever. So there's their wings, tails, vertical and horizontal tail surfaces. Some more reference photos over here on the left, and that's what you get as far as plans, which is plenty. As I say, I've built this before, and all the information is, it's all here. It didn't leave me scratching my head, or it didn't leave me with any kind of questions about, how did they do this, or how did they do that. You can just follow along, and you'll get there. You get a little piano wire, a nice big block of balsa. I don't remember exactly where that went, what that was for. Here's your parts sheet. Tells you what to expect in here, what should be in here. And let's see, what else do we have here? Can't quite get my finger under this. Here we go. Oh yeah, instrument panel. This is card stock. So there's an instrument face and then some fins for the different missiles that they showcase being attached to the model. A bit of clear line. I think this had to do with the catapult system. Don't quote me. And here it is. Additional information for detailing your model is available. We highly recommend colors and markings of whichever aircraft you're doing, and in detail and scale. Those books are great. Now they've even included the 800 number for the publisher, Tab Books Incorporated. Interesting. So I think I might still have my detail and scale copy of the F16 somewhere. I used it when I built this model originally. So anyway, let's see. We have die cut parts. They're not printed. You actually get die cut parts. And looks like we got both 16th and 1/8 inch thickness. So they have your looks like the fuselage bulkheads will be 16th, but all the spars, fuselage framing, what are they called, keels, are all in the heavier material, as are probably the wing trailing edge. Okay, and then here's our strip stock, leading trailing edge material. A couple pieces of dowel. This would be to make the missiles, the ordnance for the airplane, if you're going to follow the plan sheet and build the ordnance as it's depicted there. So you see, they're really nice. They're really nice kits, and as I said, the profiles are outstanding. If you build it to the plan, I mean, what you end up with, structurally and looking at it, is a really good representation of the aircraft that they're depicting, that they're reproducing here. They had it like this. The canopy under there, keep it from getting scratched. Anywho's, let's see, I think that'll close. I wanted to talk specifically about this kit. whenever I can find these, and they're not too pricey, I'm still looking for another F18, or I'm sorry, F14, another Tomcat. I didn't do a terrific job on the one that I had. It had a wing sweep mechanism that actually worked. It was a geared system, and you could make the wings variable sweep in any position, as long as you modeled it with the flaps retracted. Obviously, if you're going to model the airplane with the flaps down, you're not going to be able to, because the actual aircraft, you couldn't swing the wings if you had the flaps actuated. So anyhows, I would love to do another F18, or again, I would love to do another F6. I'd love to do another F14 Tomcat if the opportunity, presents itself. I've seen the F5 come up a few times. I've seen this airplane come up a few times. But the F18s, the F4s, and the F14s are harder to find and harder to get. Right, so like I said, if I can find any build threads that I did on any of the today's hobby stuff, I'll put links in the description for this video that will show how those were built. I think so. Anyway, this is in the pile here. We'll see which one is next. This one will definitely be built up, along with these others over the next however long it takes me to grind through them. I say that I love building these. Right, so there you go. Today's hobbies. Hardly anybody really knows these kits, and that's why you can still kind of find them reasonably priced. I think maybe this video will work against me, but they're great kits, and highly recommend if you can find them. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.